we're on the road to the show. Come behind the scenes as some of Australia's most talented folk prepare for the big one, the Sydney Royal Easter Show. Whether it's revving...
It's just an adrenaline rush. I mean, flying through the air, if something goes wrong, you're going to get severely hurt.
Or riding...
Yeah, you're looking good. Great. Super.
Or revolving that you're after.
You see their faces here on show day, you'll understand why we say it pulls 5 Gs.
You've come to the right place. And if walking the dog is more your speed...
Rabbits! Rabbits! Rabbits!
Have we got dogs for you? It's the best of the best.
I love winning.
So let's all get on board the road to the show. The Sydney Royal Easter Show is the biggest annual event in Australia, with all profits going to supporting our rural communities and sustainability in agriculture. A kaleidoscope of sights, sounds and experiences. It's when the country comes to the city and the city slickers get to experience a bit of country. From stunts and tricks to fashion, food, our favourite farm and city animals to fast cars and fireworks, it is non-stop entertainment every day and night. So let's hit the road as Reid takes us behind the scenes with 2 show favourites. The fearless horse riding team of Girls, Girls, Girls and the daredevils of Australian freestyle motocross, Showtime FMX.
The Showtime FMX boys, Kane Saul and Brad Birch, are giving the main arena an adrenaline injection at this year's Sydney Royal Easter Show.
It's just an adrenaline rush. I mean, flying through the air, if something goes wrong, you're going to get severely hurt, but if you land the tricks, it gives you such a buzz and you can't really compare anything to it.
Getting paid to do what you want to do and travel the world and see all different things and meet new people, and there's nothing better than that.
With a takeoff speed of 45 kilometres an hour, the rider has under 3 seconds of airtime to complete the trick.
So, Kane, tell us what's different to your bikes than a standard Honda you buy at a shop.
A few of the things we customise on the bikes. For starters, we put flip levers on, which help out for your flip tricks like super flips. We've also got the grabs here. We cut the airbox out so we can do all our grab tricks. And to do that, we also got to cut the seat down pretty thin so it's, you can get a good grab on that.
And this looks custom.
That's a bolt-on part for us we get specially made. With that, our foot hooks under that and we use that for like no-handed flips. You put your foot under there, take your hands off while doing a backflip and keeps you towards the bike.
What's it take to get ready for the Easter Show?
Easter Show, it's our biggest show all year, 14 days straight, plus a week of rehearsals. A month out, we start preparing brand new bikes, brand new gear, brand new graphics. Everything has to be looking spot on.
Yeah, it's definitely one of our favourites for the year. The crowds get up to like 20,000 plus and, it's an amazing feeling and the atmosphere's like perfect.
Nothing really compares to those crowds. I mean, packed out stadium, being the centre of attention is a pretty good feeling.
Do you still get nervous before a show?
Oh, for sure, mate. When it's opening night, all the eyes are on you. You don't want to make a mistake. My first ever broken bone was my right wrist. My left wrist I've done twice. I actually broke both of my legs at the same time. Both bones came through the skin.
Broken both ankles, tib and fib on my right side. Pretty bad head injuries, a whole lot of broken ribs.
Apart from that, I'm pretty good.
What makes you get back up and do it all again after a crash?
It comes down to it, this is what we love doing and we're going to keep doing it until we can't do it any longer.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to hold you up. How about you get out there, show us a thing or two?
Cool, let's do it.
From one horsepower to another, not as loud, but just as high octane. And anything the boys can do, the girls are out to do better. The girls are taking stunt riding to a whole new level with never-before-seen tricks at this year's Sydney Royal Easter Show. Girls is a dream team of 5 fearless females. Beth, Christy, Jacinta, Nell and new girl Rebecca. And making sure their crowd pleases year after year is former stunt rider Heath Harris. Heath, how did you start Girls?
Bit of madness. I've always wanted to do a live show. I had this idea that, you know, trick riding. I used to trick ride a bit years ago, and I said, righto, let's give it a go. And so the original Girls was formed back in 1998. Just go forward a bit more, Jacinta, and catch up, Beck.
So how fit do you have to be a trick rider?
You have to be relatively fit. There's a lot of upper body strength, core strength.
It would be ideal to have previous background in horse riding, just because you've already got the balance sorted.
Is there a procedure you follow with new tricks?
We'll practice a lot standing still first, just getting your strength and technique in that right first, and you'll start at a walk and a trot before you do it full speed, so it's just a lot of practice.
So what are some of the dangers, the things that could go wrong?
I don't even want to think about it. A lot can go wrong, but our job is to make sure that the safety of the horses is paramount and that the safety of the riders is paramount. You want to give it a run? Yeah! Woo! Yeah, you're looking good. Great. That's strong. That's awesome. Terrific.
Horse trick riding is a dangerous business. It takes guts and skill. These girls push their bodies to the limit, performing death-defying stunts whilst trying to avoid a stray hoof or two. So Nell, tell us, what made you get into trick riding?
I actually saw Heath's team of girls trick riding in 2000 at the Easter Show, so it looked like so much fun I couldn't help myself.
And a brand new stunt for this year's Sydney Royal Easter Show.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Seeing Christy will be Roman riding the 2 horses up beside the truck, a foot on each horse. We're doing it the easy way, literally. We're riding 1 horse, she's got to control 2 and manage to get on the truck at speed.
And the Sydney Royal Easter Show, it's the big one.
It's always the big one, Gary, mate. And my hair still stands on end after all these years of going there, and my God, it's the only place to be. It's the whole thing. They've never lost the basic principle that the bush comes to the city and the city can see the bush.
The first Royal Agricultural Society show in New South Wales was in 1823, when the event featured mainly horses and sheep. Since then, it's grown beyond recognition, while staying true to its agricultural heritage. The first mechanical ride appeared in 1901, and the thrills and chills haven't stopped since. Electrifying and death-defying. And since the first Grand Parade in 1907, the show ring has seen plenty of riding skills on display. None better than Mrs. Esther Stace, whose 1915 side saddle jump still holds the world record. Royal Agricultural Society President Glenn Dudley knows all about the history of the show.
The show was established primarily because of the need to encourage actual food production. Most people don't realise how difficult it was in those early days. I think the families that come to the show each year get a wonderful experience. They learn a lot about the country, they learn a lot about where their food comes from, and they have a lot of fun.
And for most families, that fun begins right here. The Showbag Pavilion. These days, there's more than 330 to choose from, and they've come a long way since the first sample bags of early last century, which could contain such treasures as soap, baked beans and disinfectant. Which ones will you choose? Next, it's time to wine and dine.
This is the sort of wine that we want people to get excited about.
With award-winning whites and reds.
We've got a Sydney medal, a gold, I think, from 1908.
Then another classic Aussie red.
One kelpie's worth at least 6 guys.
A European aristocrat.
They originate from the Russian border.
And let the G-force be with you. Doctors will tell you that a glass of red wine each day is good for you, and Australia is certainly drinking to that. We are the 4th biggest wine producer in the world, producing over 1.2 billion litres every year. That is a lot of wine and a lot of different bottles to choose from. Benchmarking our wines since 1826, the Macquarie Group Sydney Royal Wine Show have been judging the best wines on offer, with winners awarded those little gold medal stickers that help us decide on one bottle over another. This year, over 300 exhibitors across 60 different varieties, from Shiraz through to new and emerging wines like biodynamic and organic, all the way through to blends like Milan Sauvignon Blanc, are putting up their best wines for judging. So let's join Lyndey Milan as we meet some of this year's fine wine exhibitors vying to win.
This judging at the Sydney Royal Wine Show is far more than just sniffing, sipping and spitting. This year, the Sydney Royal Wine Show has 2,400 wines in competition. Wine has been judged at the Sydney Royal Wine Show since 1826 and has set benchmarks that seen Australian wine become some of the best in the world. And some of the best come from the Hunter Valley, where I've travelled to meet Neil McGuigan, Bruce Tyrrell and Andrew Thomas. First stop, McGuigan Wines. You might well have sipped their Black Label Red or one of the wines from their other labels. Neil, you have one of the biggest crushers in the country. That must make you very proud.
Well, we are the 5th biggest crush in Australia, so with that comes a lot of responsibility, because you can't sort of say, oh, we just make wine. We've got to make fantastic wine. We've got to take Australia to the world and beat the world and show them how good Australian wine is.
So good that Australia is the #1 wine importer to the UK, netting us $386 million. Our growers know the secret to that success.
Making wine actually is quite simple. All you got to do is grow some grapes, get the juice out of the grapes, add some yeast, fermentation starts, bingo, 10 days later you got wine. It's simple.
Yeah, but a lot of things can go wrong as well. You know, nature plays a big role.
Nature is our biggest enemy. You can have not enough rain, too much rain, frost, heat waves. We're agriculture. The base product it changes every year, and we've got to be on top of the process. We've got to make sure that we've got the right viticultural process, but at the end of the day, there's a bit of luck in it as well. And I think we should have a little glass of wine, because this is the sort of wine that we want people to get excited about, because they wouldn't really normally just go and get a glass of Hunter Valley Semillon and say, I really enjoy this, but this is a beautiful glass of wine. Yeah, Semillon when it's young, lovely, lifted, almost aromatic on the nose.
But it's clean as a whistle.
Absolutely beautiful glass of wine to have by itself, but fantastic with seafood.
Well, good luck at Sydney Royal.
Thank you.
Cheers. Next stop, Tyrrell's, a winery steeped in heritage that continues to produce award-winning wines.
The oldest grapes come into this winery were planted in 1867, and they're still there on their own rootstock. My great-grandfather took a conditional purchase here in this spot of 320 acres in 1858. First vintage was 1864.
Well, you've got a proud history. How long have you been entering wines in the Sydney Royal Wine Show?
We've got a Sydney medal, a gold, I think, from 1908.
Wow.
So wine shows have been an important part of what we do for a very long time. We're in there for 2 reasons. We're in there to win and get the bling, as we call it, on our labels. But secondly, we want to see how we go against our competitors and where we sit. So that'll be Royal Agricultural Societies have been improving the breed in Australia for well over 100 years.
Now, another Aussie winemaker who's taking it to the big guys on his own terms. Andrew, Thomas Wines is more of a boutique company. What's different about the way you approach winemaking?
I actually only produce 2 different varieties, Semillon Shiraz, which are our signature varieties of this region. And I actually don't own any vineyards. I source all my grapes from local independent growers. And of course, that's the key to making great wine, is having access to really good quality fruit. I've got 1 full-time employee, but you need to be jack of all trades from basically virtually cleaning the bottles through to selling the end product and everything in between. So, that's what makes the job really interesting. We're growing grapes and we're turning them into this wonderful product that can be enjoyed by people, all over the world. You get to live in a beautiful area like this, in a wonderful community, and it's just as much a lifestyle as an occupation.
With bragging rights, egos and prestige from a medal on the line, these 3 gents have their eyes on the prize. How has putting a Sydney Royal medal on one of these bottles affected your business?
Well, our cellar door's in the Hunter Valley, and getting an award from your capital city wine show is very, very important for the consumers, because it is a guarantee of quality, it's a guarantee of a certain level of excellence that you can only win at the Sydney Royal Wine Show. Absolutely.
It's one of the most hotly contested wine shows in the country, so to come out with some good results is great for our ego and for our brand, of course.
And why is winning a medal or a trophy at Sydney Royal so important?
Well, I love winning.
Still to come on the road to the show, 2 champion breeders teach us their canine beauty tips.
Once we actually get to the show, it's another good hour getting all these bands up and getting him looking fabulous.
And next, Gary meets the men behind the machines we all love to ride.
They say it pulls about 5 Gs. It's over 40 metres tall. No matter where you put it on the showground, you'll see it.
If names like the Zipper, the Hurricane, the Matterhorn or Mighty Mouse mean something to you, then you are a fan of some of the most famous carnival rides that have been at many an agricultural show over the years. The Sydney Royal Easter Show has more than 100 rides to choose from. You could stay and ride all day if you like, but you probably wouldn't have time to go on every single one of them. Gary Reid passes the height test and takes us behind the thrills of the carnival to find out a little bit more about the people who really do take the fun with them everywhere they go at the show.
The Coca-Cola Carnival is one of the biggest reasons kids and big kids like myself come to the Sydney Royal Easter Show. You can fly, spin, hurl yourself across the sky on 55 rides at G-forces that only fighter pilots get to experience.
The carnival and sideshows began in 1888, but the fun really began in 1901 when the first mechanical ride premiered. From that time on, the rides have been one of the biggest attractions at the show. Elwyn Bell is the bloke behind all this excitement, and he was born into it, just like his dad. When did it all start for the Bells family?
1924, Dad started off. He had a boxing tent. That's when he first started to run his own show. But then it gradually went from the tent shows and it came into the riding devices. And this year we're celebrating 90 years on the road with Bells.
After the boxing tents, what was the first ride your family got into?
The Cha-Cha, we had that built in 1968, brand new, and that was one of our most popular rides, still is. We've still got it on the road today and just as good today as it ever was.
How many rides does the Bell family own now?
We probably own 30 rides, I guess.
Forever the showman, Elwyn has taken it up a notch with the latest in rides. Elwyn, this is the No Limit, one of your biggest and scariest rides of the show.
Yep, this is the one and only. This is the only one in Australia, Gary. We brought it out from Belgium about 5 years ago.
And what makes you choose a ride like this?
Well, we're just trying to get something that no one else has got and no one else has seen. They say it pulls about 5 Gs.
5 Gs?
Something like the fighter pilots experience. You see their faces here on show day, you'll understand why we say it pulls 5 Gs. And you can't hide it either, Gary, because no matter where you put it on the showground, you'll see it. It's over 40 metres tall, so that's one of the good parts about it.
But most of what makes for a great carnival goes on away from the public eye. Now, when the crowd turns up, The rides are gleaming, the music's on, all the lights are flashing. What doesn't the crowd see?
They don't see the setup. You want everything to be just spot on, everything. You don't want a problem during the show with any risk of having an accident, or you want your machines to work well. We want everything spot on. You want the biggest and best, and that's what we're going to provide.
And to make sure that what goes up always comes down in one piece, everything goes into making the rides safe before we get on them. So, Shane, safety is paramount. How do you ensure we have the thrills without the spills?
Yeah, look, Gary, as you said, it is paramount. It's our #1 priority. Just to start with, all the rides are registered with the appropriate state-based regulator. To achieve that registration, they've got to be signed off each year by a mechanical engineer and also an electrical engineer. On site here, when the guys are setting up, we employ a carnival consultant and safety officer just to oversee the area, make sure that they're doing everything correctly, but also doing their daily checklists.
So how do you select a ride for the show?
Gary, it's against the selection criteria. We sit down, we go through all the applications line by line and make sure that we are selecting the best of the best. For your information, we've got $60 million worth of equipment out here. You know, we've got one of the best collections of transportable amusement rides you'll find anywhere in the world.
It's a way of life in the carnival for the whole family. So how many generations of the Bell family are travelling with the shows?
There's 4 generations now. Mum and Dad have passed away.
You're kind of on the ground, you're doing the hard yards. It's a lot of work to bring Sideshow Alley together.
Mate, this work doesn't stop from now to the end of the year because we haven't got one show to service. We've got 50 shows a year to service. So show business doesn't stop, mate, and there's not a better business than show business.
And as for the show people's kids, rather than being on a permanent road trip and holiday, the school goes along for the ride.
As you can see, we're here in one of the 2 semi-trailer classrooms that we have. These semi-trailers are hooked onto the back of a prime mover, a Big Mac 410, and it takes about 3 hours to set up and about 3 hours to pull down. So we take Monday to travel and then we have our 5 days of schooling. So we're really just like any other school, we're just on wheels.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, crew.
Our children are from the families who own and operate the rides and amusements and travel nationally on the agricultural show circuit. This has all been about giving the children a chance to do something that the mums and dads would have loved to have done themselves. And that was to go to school on a regular basis, to have a real core of a quality education. And he kept edging farther and farther away from her with little shuffles of his feet. Teaching here within this environment is the most surprising but the most rewarding teaching position that I have ever had.
I have been at a regular school in Port Macquarie in New South Wales, but I like show school better than any other school.
So with the future looking bright for the next generation of showmen and women, we're set to get our thrills at the show for many years to come.
I think it'll always go on. I hope it does. I'm sure it will. You got a ride looking really good and lots of lights on it, brings the people. It's like a light bulb. It's nice and bright and that brings the moths. The front of the show gets the dough, Gary.
Front of the show gets the dough. Do you ever sneak a little sneaky ride here and there?
Oh, I might get on the Cha-Cha or maybe the music trip or the Hurricane. I haven't had a go at the No Limit yet, but they'd only speed it up if they had me on there.
So, Elwyn, what's the secret of a successful career as a showman?
It's not just something that anybody does, there's a lot of hard work in it. Every week's different, but it's a way of life.
Next on the road to the show, it's My District Rules.
It's just like an old rugby league game in the bush. Knock them down, drag them out.
As we meet the artists who put vegetables on a pedestal.
If you're going to do it and put the time and effort in, you've got to want to win, otherwise you're just wasting your time.
Hey guys, all hands on deck again for a second.
And still to come, what do you get if you cross a Kelpie with a poodle? These ladies wouldn't dream of it.
Obviously, a poodle-friendly house.
Absolutely.
For some people, it's Lego. For others, it's model planes. But for the passionate and artistic doyens of the district exhibitions, It's 4D collages made from grains, wool and fresh fruit and vegetables, all arranged into large artworks that really gets them going every year. The championship competition between districts is fierce here in the Woolworths Fresh Food Dome. Lyndey Milan talks to the unique characters that are working towards the goal of being crowned the 2014 champions.
Over 50,000 pieces of our finest fruit and veg and more than 14 days to build, the district exhibits is where our farmers get to show their creativity. The competition is divided into 5 districts: South East Queensland, Northern, Western, Central and Southern. Each display takes months of work, from growing and sourcing the produce to designing and building the amazing artworks. To win, you need to have the best produce displayed in the most creative way. Last year's winners were Central, who beat Northern by the smallest of margins, which means it's game on this year.
I take it very seriously. I'm a fairly fierce competitor. To me, it's serious business.
Arthur Jones heads up the team from the Northern districts. Their 8-year winning streak was brought to an abrupt end last year by the Central district, who are out to prove that 2013's win was no fluke.
I suspect that having not won it last year, Norths will have fired up this year and they'll be coming down trying to get that win, so we'll be keeping our eye on them.
And don't be fooled by all the friendly faces. This competition is fierce. Do tempers fray?
Yeah, sometimes they do. We try to keep them calm, but there's always a difficult moment, particularly in certain sections. You know, the jam ladies and the wool guys have quite good rivalry.
Oh, it's intense. It's just like an old rugby league game in the bush. Knock them down, drag them out. 1 or 2 points. Actually, I think last year the winner won by, out of 10,000 points, won by 2 points.
Geoffrey Mason is the chair of the Agriculture Committee. His job is to oversee the whole competition. Tell me, how does the judging for the district exhibits work?
Well, it's an overall competition. What you see in the displays is actually a small part of the judging. There are 86 other competitions that go into the overall point score. We judge wheat, grain, fruit and veg, wines, olive oils, you name it. If it's produced in the Murray-Darling Basin, they've got to bring it.
And there's a lot of produce to bring. Each display has more than 10,000 items, each piece hand-picked to show off their region's finest produce. Joe, how many pieces of produce in your display this year?
This year we've ordered 4,000 apples, but there'll be another 500 oranges and another 500 onions at least, as well as 30-odd pumpkins.
And how many people on the team to put it together?
Yeah, here on ground we've got about 20, but there'd be another 100 volunteers.
And when you're managing a team that big, everything doesn't always go to plan.
In Singleton, you got no bloody chance of getting here at all if you're lost in Singleton. My wool manager's lost in Singleton trying to get down here.
So you have to be all things to all people.
Oh, yes.
This is the biggest competition of its kind in the world. It takes each of the 5 teams more than 1,000 man-hours to build their designs. And the devil is certainly in the detail. Only the best produce is used, from each single grain that is painstakingly selected to 300+ kilo pumpkins. That's a big pumpkin.
That pumpkin, I would
big to me.
estimate, would weigh 450 kilo.
And how long did it take to grow?
On average, about 120 days.
Wow. My parents courted at the Easter show, and we came every year, and we always wanted to see the district's exhibits and the wood shop. So there you go. It's always been my favourite.
Well, they're probably 2 of the most entertaining things here.
Absolutely, and they're so Australian.
They are.
That's what I love.
This design has been in the gestation period for 12 months. We were sitting here at last year's show, sitting down during the show, looking and thinking about what we're going to be doing this year. Everything that's on the displays is natural, from the bottom to the top, from left to right. It is pumpkins, apples, wool, grain, and you've got to take a concept and an idea, and you've got to find some way to bring that to life using natural produce.
This is Edwina's first season as a designer, and she is really feeling the stress.
You know, you have a picture at home and you've got an idea of what you want to do, but then you get here and you go, yeah, there's a big space to fill.
With the clock ticking, there's still so much work to be done. Everyone has their eyes on winning that top prize and earning themselves bragging rights for the next 12 months.
We want to win this as much as you could want. There's so much blood, sweat and tears that goes into this.
We don't come here to come second.
Who do you think's going to win?
Southern Districts.
The main aim every year is to come out in front of Central. We go at each other's throats until it's all over and judged, and then we'll sit down and have a whiskey together or a beer or something.
Next, working dogs, show dogs, and a young achiever who's all about looking after dogs in the bush. Best in Show is the title being chased like a gold ball around the dog park by thousands of Australia's best dog breeders and owners over the next 2 weeks at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. The title Best in Show was first awarded back in 1931 to a fox terrier with the curious name of End on Dainty. Dogs of all shapes and sizes are here. The cute and, well, not so cute are being petted and preened, bowed and brushed to within an inch of their dog's life before they come here into the arena. So let's find out what Gary Reid discovers about these pouty poochers and the effort it takes to be awarded top dog.
Everyone has their favourite at the show, and for most of us, it's dogs. Small ones, big ones, fluffy ones, grumpy ones. Alsatians, collies, sheepdogs. And that's, I'm not sure exactly. The Purina Sydney Royal Dog Show is the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere. Competition is tough, and this year, 4,200 dogs from 180 breeds will duke it out for the title of Best in Show. Our four-legged friends have been judged on their temperament, conformation and agility at the Sydney Royal Dog Show since 1869. The show has set world-class judging standards for the dogs, their owners and breeders. World-class Kelpie breeder Marie Collier, whose dogs have won big around the world, as well as multiple awards at the Sydney Royal Dog Show, winning Challenge Bitch, Challenge Dog, Best of Breed Runner-Up and Best Team in the Working Dog Group. And that was just in 1 year.
There we go.
You're a beautiful dog, huh?
So, Marie, I can see why you love these dogs so much.
They're just so affectionate and so loving.
Kelpies have been on farms as long as we can remember. Why do you think they're so important to agriculture?
Kelpies, well, first and foremost, they are used for working sheep, and one Kelpie's worth at least 6 guys. The farmer can send them out into the long paddock, and he just gets them to bring the sheep back all by themselves. They don't need any instruction, they know what to do. In Europe, they are using them for herding reindeer, and they're also using them now for search and rescue dogs. So a Kelpie's versatile. A Kelpie can be taught or trained to do anything.
And when showtime beckons, every girl needs a spot of mascara and gloss to compete with the best. So, Marie, at a show, what are the judges looking for?
We have a standard to breed to. They've got to be within a certain height for males and a certain height for females. The key word in our standard is lithe. So when you look at a Kelpie, it must float like a feather, must be light, must be able to move effortless. It must have like an overlie, the eye must correspond with coat colour. There's a lot of things that you try to breed to the best of your ability.
And Marie's knowledge, professionalism and clear love for her dogs has brought her to more than just the judges' attention.
The Royal Agricultural Society has nominated you for the Excellence in Agriculture Award. You must be very proud.
I'm very proud, but both also very humble.
Over 30 years in the dog showing industry, and it's going to be a big year this year.
It is, and I'm very excited.
I'm very excited as well.
Next, I'm off to meet another champion breeder, Lorraine Boyd, who's about to introduce me to a very different breed of dog.
Hello, Lorraine. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Now, who's this?
This is Sequel.
Now, obviously a poodle-friendly house.
Absolutely.
Lorraine, you must really love your poodles.
I certainly do. They're just a joy to live with. They're intelligent, they're athletic, they're good to look at, they're very clean in the house, they're just great companions.
And what's their temperament like?
They have a great sense of humour. They just love to be with people. It's just like having another member of the family, a well-behaved member of the family.
Lorraine, where did poodles originate from?
Not France, as so many people seem to think. They call it a French poodle, but they're not. They originate from the Russian border, and they're actually gun dogs. They're retrievers. Our dogs have won at the highest level in all the states in Australia, really. Many best in shows, royal best in shows, national best in shows. We've been very fortunate.
Why the haircut?
Okay, the haircut is really important. People think it's just a funny haircut. The big mane at the front is to protect the vital organs. It's like a waterproof coat, and the bobbles on the hips are to protect the hip joints. And on the feet, the rosettes, that's to protect their ankle joints from freezing up. So it's just been slightly glamorised over the years, but really it's a functional working haircut.
Now, walk us through, typically, if we are getting the dog ready for a show.
Okay.
What do we do?
Okay, well, first of all, he has a bath and a blow dry, which takes about 2.5 hours. Then we'll shave him, which is about another hour. Then he has a pedicure, which is pretty quick. And then he has a haircut. Once we actually get to the show, it's another good hour getting all these bands up and getting him looking fabulous.
He looks ready to go to the show. What do you love about the Sydney Royal Easter Show?
Well, it's a great buzz, the atmosphere, the show. Sometimes our dogs win, occasionally they don't, but yeah, it's just the atmosphere of the show. It's a great show, the best in Australia.
The Royal Agricultural Society ploughs all of the profits of the show back into helping the rural community. Society President Glenn Dudley tells us more about one of their schemes, the Rural Achievers Scholarship.
The Rural Achievers Scholarship started some 22 years ago as a result of two of our honorary councillors deciding that the young people needed to be encouraged and recognised for the contribution that they're making to rural New South Wales.
In just the last 4 years, the scholarship program has helped 179 students with funds totalling $861,000. And here's a young bloke from the bush who the foundation is banking on paying back their investment in spades.
My name's Tom Gillard. I'm studying a Bachelor of Veterinary Science at the University of Sydney, and I'm in 3rd year. Vet science is definitely not an easy course to get into. It's got very stringent academic requirements.
The scholarship is open to any rural students who demonstrate a passion and commitment to the bush.
Winning the scholarships allowed me to exercise greater financial freedom in buying textbooks and travelling further afield to undertake compulsory farm placements. After I graduate from the University of Sydney, I want to move back out to the country and start working in a rural mixed practice.
Up next,
the judges have made their decision.
We rejoin Lyndey to find out how those 3 Hunter Valley winemakers go at the Sydney Wine Show.
Earlier, I visited Hunter Valley winemakers Neil McGuigan, Bruce Tyrrell and Andrew Thomas, all fired up to win at this year's Macquarie Group Sydney Royal Wine Show.
I love winning.
For them, Judgment Day has arrived, and soon their Semillons will be sipped and swilled in the hope of earning a coveted gold medal, or maybe even a trophy. Each class is judged blind by a panel comprising 2 judges, 2 associate judges and a panel chair. Ian Riggs, Chairman of Judges at Sydney Royal, is here to tell us what the panels are looking for when judging.
Judging is about visual appearance, it's about the aroma, and it's about the palate. As you pick the glass up, you're already trying to ascertain, do you like the colour? Is it fitting for that sort of age of the wine? Smell the wine. This one is Pinot Gris. We're looking for that fresh, crunched pear character, and that's sort of typical of Pinot Gris.
OK, we've looked at it, we've nosed it. How do we taste it?
Take a small amount into the mouth. So you're looking for the initial flavour. You're looking for the sort of how it sits on the tongue, the alcohol, the tannin, and then spit a small amount out. And then you're still left with residual tiny amount on the back of the tongue, and that can then give you the after palate.
From Shiraz to Semillon, the judges have made their decision. Tonight, the Macquarie Group Sydney Royal Wine Show will award its coveted trophies and medals to the best wines in the country. The nominated winemakers have donned their tuxedos and fabulous frocks. And even though they may have had a glass to steady the nerves, the awarding of the trophy for Best Semillon raises the tension in the room.
Congratulations, McGuigan Wines, for the 2007 Bin 9000 Semillon. Come on forward. Neil McGuigan.
It's wonderful to win the Semillon trophy, and of course coming from the Hunter Valley, really the home of Semillon, is just fantastic. It really is a wine style that is unique to Australia. You take that wine around the world and it will win internationally. We're so proud of our region and so proud of the variety.
And you know, Neil, drinking wine is definitely an agricultural act.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Lyndey. I couldn't agree more. Our road to the show continues next time when Lyndey catches up with the district designers we met earlier to see how they fared. Also, we get up close to the power and precision of some uncanny axemen and women training for the Woodchop Championships. And we go behind the scenes of one of the show's highlights each year, the Grand Parade. See you all next time on the road to the show.